What's good, people? Tunji again from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Today we are going to be working on this lovely looking movie poster. So without any further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. What actually inspired today's tutorial is, I was studying the Bible and I saw this story about Daniel. It was so interesting, so I would advise to go check the story out. It's written in the book of Daniel from 1 to 12. Alright, so let's go straight to Photoshop and start putting things together. So I'm going to create a new document now by going to File and I'll select New. So for this project, I'm going to be using 1080 by 1350 because I'm going to post this on Instagram. So I'm going to bring the picture of the lion's eye. So I'll drag that and drop like so. Now zoom out, hold on, alt and scale. Select the curve adjustments, and I'm going to push this down like so. Alright. And I'm going to just hit the Ctrl I on my keyboard to invert the mask of that curve adjustment, and I'll select brush and I'll switch this to white. Next is to change my flow to 18, and I'm just going to brush like so. Go to the brush settings and use the hard brush. Alright, I want to have this hard shadow effect here, make the edges of the brush a little bit softened. So I'll reduce the flow 17, and I'm just going to brush like so. I'm just going to make it be around 3 like so. I'm going to select the sunflower brush now, zoom in and make this be around 2, and I'm just going to brush. I'm doing this just to clear that sharp edges of my brush. So I'll go again to the curve adjustment, and this time I'm just going to push this up to something of the sides, and I'm going to hit the Ctrl I again, and I'm going to select the brush tool, increase my flow to 18, and I'll use the square bracket to increase the size of the brush, and I'm just going to brush. Can I even move this up a little bit more, just add more depth to it. So I'm just going to brush like so. I'm just going to create a new layer, so I'm holding on Alt and I'll click. Then I'll change this to color dodge, and I'm going to make this, and I'll check the fill with color dodge neutral color black option, and I'll hit OK. So for this, I'm going to change my foreground color to shade of orange, and I'm going to hit OK. Flow should go down to 10. Next, I'm going to put the layer in between the dodge layer, and I'll call this light mini, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to change the color to something lighter. Alright, and I'm just going to increase the size of my brush, and I'm going to just brush like so. Alright, so I think we need to add a little bit more light to this side, so I'm just going to select the brush tool, then switch back to that shade of orange that I used before, and increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to brush to add that part to my selection like so. Create a new layer, so I'm just going to hit OK. Now change this to white. I need to move my flow to go back to 100. So I'm going to change my brush to hard brush, and I'm going to just click here once, then I'm just going to click on the point here. Then I'm going to move this to somewhere around here, and I'll hit the Ctrl T on my keyboard, and I'll right click and select warp, and I'm going to push this up like so. Right, Click again, select free transform, just rotate a bit, and I'm just going to position it somewhere here, and I'm going to reduce the strength of the opacity. I'm going to reduce the opacity to something around 27, I mean 25 is fine. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. So let's bring in the silhouette of our character. So I'm going to go straight to Illustrator. I already have it drawn here, and I'm going to put this on the description section so you guys can get the link and download the exercise file from there. And I'll go straight to Photoshop and I'll hit Control. So the option I'm going to select here is going to be the shape layer, and I'm just going to select OK. And next is to hit the Ctrl T on my keyboard, and I'm just going to scale this down to. Alright, so I want to change the color of this, so I'm just going to select these two, and I'll come here and change this to black. Alright, and I'm going to zoom in and position this somewhere around here. I'm going to scale it a little bit more. Yeah, this is not bad. So I'm going to hide this and select the pen tool and just pop out the side of the eye so as to not make my character touch the lips of the eye like so. So I'm just going to hide this. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Enter for Windows users and Command Enter for Mac users to create a macro selection of that shape that I just drew. So I'm going to do that now. So as you can see, I have the macro selection of that part that I drew, and I've made the layer of the character visible. So I'm just going to call this. So I'm going to select the Add the Layer Mask button here. My character is now inside the eyeball of the lion. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight to the property of the layer mask, and I need to make this more soft because as it is now it's looking too hard. So I'm going to move my feather up a little bit. Alright, as you can see, I'm beginning to have that smooth look on selection. So I'm going to put this in a group. So I'll hold on Shift and click on the group icon here, and I'll double click here. I'll call this down now and add another layer mask, and I'll zoom in. Alright, now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make the light effect from the background of the eye to reflect on the body of the character, which is Daniel. So I'm going to start with the lion and end it here. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. And my flow, I'm going to select the brush tool, and I'm going to make my flow something around let's say 15. Let's see, 15, and I'll switch to black because black is the opposite of white, because this is where we're actually applying the brush. Then I'll change my brush setting to soft round brush like so, and I'll reduce the size of my brush, zoom in, and I'll just So because this is a lion, alright, I'm going to click on this pen pressure option here, and I'm just going to brush because I'm using a graphic tablet. So I'm using the brush like so. We're going to bring in the color lookup adjustment here, and I'll choose Hedgy Amber like so. And because I actually want to make it look like there's a light effect coming from the back. Alright, so that's why I decided to add the Hedgy Amber effect like so. And I'm going to just hit the Ctrl I on my keyboard or Command I for Mac users, because I don't want the effect to apply to every part of my projects. This is only the focus. This side here is the focus of my project here. So I'm just going to select the brush tool and I'm going to increase the size of my brush. Right, so I'm going to use the square bracket and let's just over here and check this, and my flow should go back to 16. Yeah, then I'm going to switch this to white and I'm just going to start brushing like so. This kind of thing. One other thing I'm going to do is I need to change the color of the lion to grayscale. So to do that, I'm going to select the gradient adjustment here, and this is the color that I use on my gradients. All right, and I'm just going to say okay. And as you can see, it has affected the eye, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to zoom in. Make sure you're on the brush tool and make sure your foreground is set to black like so, because this is white. So because we're using black, so it's going to take out the parts that we don't want on that particular layer. So I'm just going to brush like so. So I am going to make visible of the layer. So to do that, I'm going to hold down Ctrl Shift Alt and E. So for Mac users is Ctrl Shift Option E. So we're going straight to camera raw now to add more depth to this. So I'm going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. For my exposure, I'm just going to dial that down like so. For contrast, contrast should go up, highlight should go down, shadow go down. And for my texture, I'm going to push that up just to boost the pixels, and I'll go straight to my grain. I need more noise on this. I'm just going to push that up like so. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to select the brush tool. All right, and I'm going to select the mask. I'm going to check the mask option here. I'm going to move. So if this is not grayed out from your end, I'll advise you click on it so as to grade it out. So I'm going to use the brush to brush the eye of the lion, and I'm going to reduce my feather a little bit like so. Feather need to go down. All right, that's not bad. For my brush size, I'm going to just make it something not too much, and I'll brush like so. All right, just going to brush like so. Okay, this is good. And I'm going to uncheck this, and I'll go straight up and dial this. And I'm going to just say okay. Pick a color from here like so, and I'll make a new layer. I'll call this, and I'm just going to click OK. Then I'm just going to select the brush tool, the size of my brush. You know what? I think I need to just push it up a little bit. Ctrl T on my keyboard. Let's just increase the brightness of this a little bit. So I'm just going to go to the level where the curve adjustment, and I only want it to apply to this layer. So I'm just going to click here. More curve again. I'm just going to push this down like so. Right, and I'll select the Control I or Command I on my keyboard, and I'll select the brush tool, switch this to white. Right, so I'm just going to scale everything by holding down Shift. I'll zoom out, Control T on my keyboard. I'm just going to scale it a little bit more. Go to the curve adjustment again, and I'll push this up like so. Color lookup adjustment, and I'll select for. Right, this is good. This is good. I'm just going to reduce the opacity just a little bit. I need to add more noise to this, so I'm going to hold on Alt and click. I'll call this noise, and I'll change this to soft light fill with soft light neutral color, and I'll say OK. Then I'll go to Filter, Noise, and I'll say add noise. So I'm going to make this go up to about this point, and don't forget guys to check the monochromatic option here, and I'll say okay. So the next thing we are going to do is to start putting our other information. So I'm going to pause the video, and by the time I come back I would have added my information to the design. Okay, so here we are now. I've added my text, but I think I still need to increase the brightness of this, the curve adjustment here. So I think this is it guys. Just in case you're looking at the font that I use here, it's called the Hoefler Tightline. So if you enjoyed today's tutorial, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hope to see you in my next tutorial. Peace.